What is going on, Movie Meals? Hope everybody's still enjoying their summer as it's winding down. Everybody continuing to stay safe. COVID spiking, so please stay safe out there. Before we get started into the cursed review that I watched the show, let's talk about, if you're a fan of sports, Kyle, myself, and my brother over at Essays About Everything Art are also huge sports fans. So we've decided there's no better time right now than to start a sports podcast. So we started the Get Back Guys podcast. It's on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Go check it out. They air every Saturday. They will air at 11 a.m. With a show on Zoom. And then obviously the Spotify audio will be available on Spotify and Apple. So please go check that out. First episode's up. It was a great first episode. Went really well. Only a couple minor jitters, but we're excited. Filming or airing the next one tomorrow, so check that out. Again, 11 a.m. We'll stick with that time until sports kind of ramp up, and then we might switch times so we don't interfere with sports. We can really talk about it, but if you're into sports, go check it out. Go subscribe over there on YouTube and Spotify and Apple. The Get Back Guys is where you can find it, and it'll be linked down in the description. So let's get into it. Cursed on Netflix. This will be a non-spoiler review. I got home from being out of town for a little bit and saw this dropped, Catherine Langford's new show, so I was kind of curious about it. I'm big fan of, obviously, Game of Thrones brought me into Sword and Sandal, which is a genre I tend to not gravitate to as much. Game of Thrones kind of changed that for me. And it's a spin off a Frank Miller comic, graphic novel on the Arthur tale, the King Arthur tale. And overall, I enjoyed the show. My positives, I ended up enjoying it. I thought all the performances were very, very good. I think everybody brings their A game. Lots of great cinematography in it. I thought it was directed pretty well. I think it's a very strong show. I always love seeing a Skarsgård boy doing something whack. One of the Skarsgård boy plays Merlin, which is real interesting, and it is a unique telling. When I first started, I didn't know it was. I had heard something to do with King Arthur. I wasn't necessarily sure. I thought maybe this took place years after King Arthur, and that Merlin was just still around. But it had been so long since I had, refreshed myself on the myth. That I went back once I finished and kind of did a little more research again to go back on the myth. I hadn't seen like the Disney movie in so long and things like that. So it's just a retelling, and it's a retelling of what if the sword chose a queen instead of a king. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it, especially Catherine. She did a great job. I mean, obviously she's got connections with Netflix from 13 Reasons Why. The show she was on. And, if you go check those reviews out on our channel, here at Movie Meals, Kyle and I tend to give that show a lot of flack, but not on the actors. The actors have always brought in their A game, and she was excellent in this. The whole cast was. Her and Skarsgård stood out to me the most. I really enjoyed his portrayal of Merlin. I thought that really, really worked. I liked a lot of what we had in this show, and I thought it overall worked very well. Transition now into the negatives. I do have some negatives for the show. It does feel like a CW's Game of Thrones, and I know they're not going for that, and there's kind of this big gap. What is going to fill Game of Thrones? I know a lot of people had hype that The Mandalorian would fill their Game of Thrones void after being let down. And again, that's a different type of genre. I mean, obviously it's a space western, but it's going to be different than Sword and Sandals, and this and The Witcher, I think, are the closest to what we've had with Game of Thrones. And I think The Witcher did a little bit more successfully. You can go check that review out that I've got up as well, where I really enjoyed both shows. Overall, I had a good time. I will watch season 2 of both shows. I'm curious where the story will go. But in this show specifically, I give it the CW Game of Thrones because CW, tends to be more of the teen drama, and that's what this felt like. It felt like more of a teen drama version of King Arthur, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I've loved some shows on the CW. I have fallen off of all the CW shows, though. Like Flash season 1 and 2, I just loved. Same with Arrow. Legends of Tomorrow had a really good season 1. I eventually did just fall off of all of them. And that's just shows, they just struggled for me as they kept going. I hope this doesn't go in that direction. Some of the CGI does not always deliver, I thought, in this show, and some of the fights don't always deliver, I think. And maybe that's just they have a smaller budget for first season go-around. But when you are looking at something, obviously Game of Thrones and the way it ended is one thing, but the fights in that have always been something incredible from day one to the end, and this show I thought really lacked in its fights, and the bringing of the world. I like the world we're in. I liked this telling this new story of King Arthur, but it's kind of fast, it's paced quick, and so at times it was a little hard because I was confused. I mean, there were times I was confused. I was like, what exactly? Who is going for who? Why are they doing it? I thought it lacked some motivations behind it. Why? Outside of just, I want to be the new king, and I felt, and obviously there's the why of, the Christianity coming in and taking out magic and wizards and these type of creatures, obviously, and they try to escape and whatnot. There's obviously those motivations. But I think there's more layers that can be peeled back, and I hope they do that in a season 2. Again, overall, I think it's a pretty good show. I think it worked. I would recommend it if you're into that stuff. Absolutely. If you're into Sword and Sandal, it's something to at least try a couple eps and see if it's for you. Again, all the performances were great. I just want more on the myth. I want more on the backstories. I want more of these layers peeled back. Granted, you don't get that in Game of Thrones, so if you just watch that first season, there's a lot of conversations where you do get it. But you definitely dive more and more as that show went on with its layers. So this show could do the same thing. I do think it could have given us a little bit more. I don't think it's the new Game of Thrones. I've seen some headlines saying this is the new Game of Thrones, and I think The Witcher is closer than anything. And that show confused me as well, having not have played the games really, or read the books. So I think, this show is not the new Game of Thrones. It's not going to be that big, and it's not going to be that popular, but it is a solid show. It's a CW version of it, and it worked. Everybody brought their A game, and I thought it was a good first season. So guys, tell me what you think. If you saw Cursed, please comment below, let me know. Remember guys, please go check out the new podcast. Send us all your love and support over there. Everything will be linked in the description. And as always, thanks for watching, Mom, and we'll see you guys.